Hello again. We're going to be reviewing today the Virgin Class 43 HST pack, and I'm really looking forward to this. This is the Class 43 in the latest Virgin livery, and you'll see plenty of these on the railways at the moment. It's a two-car pack. Both of these cars are actually powered in reality, however only one of the cars obviously in the set is powered. It does have DCC installed, so there's two versions of this pack, one without DCC sound and one with the TTS sound, I should say. And this pack has the TTS sound pre-installed. And I really would recommend that you go for this pack. It is obviously a little bit more expensive, but the cost is really, it's less than the cost of the decoders, and to have everything pre-installed out of the box I think is a very nice way to have it. And obviously it's all set up at the factory and tested at the factory, so you don't have to go through the process of opening up the model, installing cables and speakers and all that kind of thing. So this is actually quite a good value pack. These are retailing somewhere in the region of 170 to 200 pounds, and that is really good value for a unit like this with TTS sound installed. And the other interesting thing about the TTS sound is it's in both cars, both the powered and the dummy car. Both have the sound module installed in them, and that's to give the reality of the real unit in the field. And you actually, this plays out very nicely when you see it on the layout. And we will be running this later on, so we'll take a test run and you'll actually get to see this thing and see what it sounds like in reality. A couple of other comments. This is my first 43 in quite a while. I would have had older versions of the 43 class, and if you were like me, if your experience was of a class 43 from 10-15 years ago, they really weren't very good. The lighting on them was poor, they had poor traction, you had to put traction tires on them, there was very little body weight, and they weren't good runners at all, and I really was very disappointed with them. Any of the ones that I had, I quickly got rid of. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one fares. I think it'll be a lot better, and I know that there is no traction tires. We'll see that when we take a look at it. So really looking forward to this, and as I said, it's got the sound pre-installed, and this is the latest and greatest livery for the Virgin set. Just on the back of the box, there's an interesting history on the Class 43, and it's hard to believe that the Class 43 actually dates back to 1972 when the first units actually emerged. And interesting that it's running since 72 to today. That's a fine record of service. Obviously it's been enhanced, and the units we see running on the rails these days are enhanced in much the same way as this unit, I think, is going to be an enhancement over what I would have previously seen. So they're impressive, top speed up to 148 miles per hour, and so we'll be checking that out a little bit on the when we do a run out on the layout as well. We'll just see, this should be one of the faster trains that we have. Okay, let's open her up and take a little bit more of a closer look at this two-car set. Okay, we've just opened up the box, and the first thing you get out of the box is three pieces of documentation. The first is a typical sheet that you'll see come with any of the Hornby locomotives. Typically it's the maintenance instructions. It indicates where and how to install the DCC decoder, where the screws are, and also some instructions on applying oil to the unit. Just very scantily, you don't use a lot of oil with these units, they only a very tiny drop. So this is a typical data sheet that you will get with any Hornby locomotive. The next one I'll just look at is the Class 43 TTS sound manual. So this is the manual for the decoders that are installed, pre-installed in both the power and the dummy car. And you've got the listing here of the various decoder commands to control, and it's quite a comprehensive list. It goes all up to F25, which is pretty good. And you'll get some other details in terms of addressing and some of the CVs that are on the decoder and the kind of values that you can configure in those if you want to get down to that level. It comes out of the box as address number 3, and both the power car and the dummy car have the same address. So when you actually write to the two cars, you're actually controlling sounds, for example, lighting, etc., on the two cars at the same time. It does talk on this third sheet. This really talks about configuring what we call consist operation, where you've got a way of kind of grouping locomotives together in what they call a consist. This is a little bit more complex and maybe not as convenient, I would say, because you've got to address the two locomotives differently. But the option is there, and if that's something you're used to doing with your other locomotives and it's something you'd like to do here, you've got the option of configuring them that way. So, and they give you, say, this instruction sheet is just to give you some guidance on how to do that. So, all in all, I think the sheets that come with the Hornby locomotives are pretty good. I like them. I think they're better than some of the other vendors. There's more detail in here, and it's the same manual that you get if you buy the standalone TTS sound decoder manual. If you were to buy this just as a standalone decoder for installation in the locomotive, this is the exact same manual that you get. So it is pretty comprehensive, and I do like it because of that. And I think other manufacturers probably should up their game a little bit in terms of the documentation they provide with locomotives, particularly for DCC sound, where you are spending a premium. TTS is a lot cheaper. With a full DCC, you're paying maybe 100, 120 pounds as a premium on top of the cost of the locomotive, and you're getting pretty scanty documentation in most cases. You'll be lucky if you get a function sheet, and I don't think that's good enough, to be honest, not when you're paying that sort of money. So no complaints here with Hornby. Good set of documentation. I'm happy with that. And so let's start taking a look at the two cars. Okay, we've taken the two cars out of the packaging now. So just taking a look at this is the power car, and the first thing I'll notice here is the weight. And this is a vast improvement over what I've experienced on the previous 43s that I would have had many years ago. I noticed there's no traction tires because I don't think they're needed anymore with that good solid weight there on the unit. So very pleased straight off the bat with that. I like this livery actually. I like the Virgin livery. Some good details, nice handrail there. We've got a wiper. It'll be interesting to see the lights now when we put it on the track, so looking forward to that. There's good detail there on the bogie, the main drive bogie there. I suspect the speaker's probably installed there. Seems to be quite a bit of weight there. Some neat detail at the back. Another nice handrail there. A nice grille effect there, which is good. Looks real. It's not just a painted on effect. There's good moulding in the plastic. We've got the detail of the, you can see them there, the two fans, extraction fans. Some good detailing overall on the roof. Certainly an improvement again over what I would have seen previously. And so, as I say, quite nice detail around the cab area there. Like the windows looking good, flush with the body, which is good. That's good, again, a good improvement. So again, very nice on the other side. So I'm pretty pleased with this. This looks good. This is a nice looking locomotive, certainly a higher quality, better spec than I would have seen from the previous 43s that I would have owned. A nice livery, and there's I'll put a link in the description actually. This livery was painted over. A lot of these cars would have been painted in the network or the Eastern livery, and that was that they were painted over into the Virgin livery. And there's an interesting video showing that, so how they were converted across. So I'll include that link in the description. So as I said, a nice livery. So let's just take a look at the second car. So here we go. Again, same kind of level of detail, much lighter, of course. This is a lot lighter. I can actually see through the grille here, so I can actually, probably can't see it on the camera, but you can actually see right through to the far side. So there is a genuine grille there. It is much lighter. It's got the coupling hooks in the back. Again, the rear, some rear detail with the labels, handrails, much the same finish and detail as the Power Car. And the only real difference here really being is the overall weight, and obviously there's no power from this particular unit, but it does it will have a decoder, a TTS sound decoder and speaker installed in it. So this sound will actually be coming from this unit when we're running the 2-car set on the layout. So really, I'm quite pleased with what we've got here. I think they're a nice set. I think there's a good level of weight in the Power Car, nice level of detail overall, and really looking forward to giving these a run out now and see the sort of performance they have relative to I suppose my previous experience, which was a little bit negative, but I think these things look a vast improvement. There's no real comparison, I would say, and let's take a look at these guys now and see how they perform on a real live layout.
Okay, we're all ready to go. We're going to turn on the lights here and start up the motor. And one of the first things to notice is that both of the motors have actually started. There is an internal cab light, but it's probably not that visible in this picture, but you might see it in some of the other views of the train as we go through the run. So we'll play with a few of the sounds, some of the horns, just get a feel for some of the options. There are up to 25 sound functions on the Loco, so it's got a pretty good range, and so there's a few things to play with here. So we'll just revving her up there, just notching up the diesel engine a bit, and playing with some of the additional sound effects, the door slamming, some of the valves, sound valve. Obviously this is TTS, so you only have 2 simultaneous sounds that you can play. So there are some limitations when you are running the Loco with the engine. You can only really play one sound effect in conjunction with the engine sound. I'll just get the guard's whistle there, and we'll door slam. Just another one of the horns, and we'll notch up the engine again, and we're prepared to make way here. We'll turn off the brakes, and we're on our way. It's a good smooth starter. I was quite impressed with the low speed performance of this locomotive, and of course she can go at a pretty fast speed as well. So we'll bring her around slowly first, just to get a feel for how good she sounds. You may not be able to hear it distinctly, but the 2 motors are running, and you get this effect of kind of 2 hits of sound. You get the initial locomotive at the front, and then you get the rear locomotive hitting you at the back. So when you actually look at the sound coming from the layout when you're recording this, you can actually see the effect of the two active sound decoders playing. So we're gradually going to increase the speed here and get her up closer to the top speed. You can just see the internal light there. You'll have seen that as you're just coming through the station. That was visible. So when you turn on the directional lighting, that comes on automatically. Again, just increasing the speed a bit more here. And again, you get a good look over it coming through the tunnel there. You can see the cab light very clearly. Now we're running her up to probably about 80% speed. I didn't go all the way to 100% on this run. Okay, that's the run out on the layout, just a summarized version of it. I do have a longer run. I'll put the link in the description if you want to see a more prolonged run of the train on the track. I do have another video of that, so you can look at that offline. But I think overall I'm impressed. It's a good low speed, good high speed performance, good level of DCC control. The sound in the two engines is very effective. Okay, so let's look at the R3390TTS Class 43. Look at a summary. We've got dual power cars here. One is a dummy car, one is an actual power car. They're in the Virgin Trains livery, the very latest version of that. They do support directional lighting, and also they've got cab lighting, which you'll have seen during the run on the layout there. Comes with the two TTS sound decoders pre-installed. These are 8-pin decoders, and as I say, they're both pre-installed out of the box. Now there is a version of this pack without TTS sound, where there are no decoders, they're just the 8-pin DCC ready, and actually that's probably more easy to get hold of these days. So you would need to buy the necessary upgrade from Hornby. They do have a pack for TTS for the Class 43, and it does come with 2 sound decoders in it, so that is available. So if you're not able to get the pre-installed version, you can buy the version of this without TTS sound, and you can add the sound yourself. Selling price for this version, which has the TTS sound pre-installed, in the region of 170 to 230. It does vary quite a bit, so it is probably worth shopping around, and as I said, it is getting a little bit harder to source these days. If you're getting it without the sound, it's typically in the range of about 150 to 170 without the pre-installed sound. So you can see there isn't a huge difference there, so if you can't get the sound version, that's the one to go for. So finally we come to the scorecard for the 3390TTS. Overall performance, I'm giving it a 4.5 star. It is surprisingly good. It's infinitely better than my previous experience with the Class 43s of 15-20 years ago. Very good under DCC control, no need for traction tires anymore. I haven't loaded it with a long train yet. You'd have seen in the video there we only had 3 cars, so it remains to be seen how it might perform or on an incline. I haven't done any testing with that, but overall I am really pleased with this. This is a very good low speed performance and good high speed performance as well, so very pleased with it. The detailing is good, and for the type of vehicle that it is good. Obviously not as detailed as some of the older diesel models or maybe some of the new electric models, but you know, it's a 3.5 star. It's a reasonable score. 3.5 stars for the sound. Arguably you could go to 4 stars. It was pretty close on this one. It is TTS, so you do have the limitations of TTS, and that's worth a point on this score. But overall it was very satisfactory, very good sound, as you'll have heard, and a good range of sounds as well. So I would see 3.5 stars here as a good score for a TTS model. Extra features 2.5. This is down to obviously the installed lighting that you have and the extra sound decoder. I think that's a nice extra feature. It would have been very easy not to have the second sound decoder in this pack, and I think it does add to it, and I think give it credit for that. Obviously it's missing some things like a driver. You know, there is the level of detail is limited to a degree, and so there are other features that could potentially be on the model that it wouldn't score for. But again, don't want to take away from what I think is a very good set. Packaging and documentation is good. Very pleased with the sound documentation, as I mentioned. And overall I'm giving this a 4 star and a highly recommended rating. It's at a very reasonable price. Typically the Class 43 can be a little bit on the expensive side. Some of the sets are £250, £300 and even without sound. So getting it at this price range, it is probably the lowest cost option right now for getting a new Class 43 set from Hornby. So highly recommended. The only other thing you may need to look into is the getting the coaches for this. So there are a number of different coach options. They are rare in this particular livery, however, so that is probably one drawback. The actual original coaches would have been converted from the East Coast livery. So you can pick up the East Coast coaches readily cheap these days. They are readily available, and so you could run those with the Loco in the near term. Or alternatively, you could use some of the Virgin Trains Mark II coaches as an alternative. There's a number of those right now available, whether both Mark II and Mark III available at the moment. So that would be another option as well. But the actual coaches with this new livery that you see here, they are a little bit difficult to get hold of. So you're probably going to have to check on places like eBay, and hence they can be a little bit pricey. So that's the only drawback, I would say. And as I said, there are other options for the coaches. So that's really my review today of the Class 3390 TTS. Hope you enjoyed this review. Would like to see your comments, and if you did enjoy it, if you give it a thumbs up, and if you hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. I do have a number of other reviews lined up here, and I would also be interested in feedback, and if you want to leave it in the comments on this review and other locos that you would like to see reviewed. So I hope this was of use, and thank you for watching.